Warning, spoilers ahead. Warning, spoilers ahead. Warning, spoilers ahead.
So I definitely wanted to talk about endings, video game endings, because I put a lot of stock in them. You know, I play through a 10-hour, sometimes even longer, 20, 30, 40-hour game and anticipate a big ending. And I thought of that because Lords of Shadow 2 just came out. You know, they hyped it up as being the end of the Lords of Shadow saga. They took a lot of time on it, a couple years, and the ending just felt really rushed and fell flat for me. I'd love to get your opinion on it.
I mean, it didn't strike me as being too bad at first, but I did hear about like the crazy, weird alternate ending. Like apparently, the rumor is that Konami shut down their original ending, and I guess that was too dark for Konami.
Yeah, that would have been. Very cool.
And so now it's just all right, Konami or Dracula and Alucard just go off and do whatever next.
Yeah.
So it's totally open-ended for a sequel.
They hype up Satan's return for so long. They just keep hyping it up, hyping it up. He appears, boss fight, kill him, crash land, we did it, walk away, credits roll. And it's like, so many games I feel like are so wrapped up in getting the mechanics down, and they have the general idea of what they want the game to be. And by the time the ending comes around, they're like, okay, how do we end this? Like, let's just, final boss fight, write a couple lines, and end it. What do you guys think about endings, or how a game should end?
Well, I think there's two main categories of endings. There's like, I didn't like the way the story ended, that didn't make sense, or like that based on what I was doing in the game didn't make sense for me. In World of Warcraft, you fight the main like dragons that were around when like the world was created, and one of them is Malygos, which is like the blue aspect, or the blue dragon. And at the end of the boss fight, you all jump on dragons and do this weird little mini game. And it's just like Guitar Hero, and it was just weird that like, I'm a healer, I'm a tank, I'm damage, I'm a hunter, I'm a Death Knight, I have very specific roles and very specific abilities, and you just throw them out the window in a quick time event. And it's like, no, I want that last killing blow to be the ability that I chose, or the spell that I wanted to cast.
My feeling on this is that like with Castlevania, I could see where Konami's just like, hey, the ending's too dark. But honestly, I think they could say, no, that ending's too final. At a certain point, you have a sort of like financial obligation to make sure you can still make sequels.
Well, yeah, so Darksiders is really interesting because I just finished Darksiders 2. Like, you don't see humanity come back to life. You don't get any kind of payoff from that. It's just like, oh, credits roll, next time on Darksiders, you're going to be playing as one of these other people.
That's how I feel about
Even though it's never
games.
going to happen now, and if it does happen, it's going to be weird because somebody else is going to be doing it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say that because it makes financial sense, it's what people should do. I'm saying that's why people do that. And I think that's why Castlevania ends the way it does.
Because they kept saying so many times, like, this is it, Lords of Shadow 2, we're done after this with Lords of Shadow, reboot, new Castlevania. And it was so open-ended. It was like planning it for a sequel. Like you said, they did not close it out at all. So what's the most disappointed you guys have ever been in an ending? Because for me, Dark Souls, that was one where I spent 40+ hours grinding my way through.
The only thing I was disappointed with Dark Souls is that like I was stuck without being able to stay with my character in that world. Like you're immediately put into New Game Plus, without being able to like just hang out with a pre-boss save file.
Yeah, just the last boss for me was maybe the most boring and the easiest. And then you get that really weird cutscene of all like the serpent guys, and then the credits roll, and it was just kind of anticlimactic after 50 hours of one of the hardest games I've ever played.
I got two most disappointing endings. First is 3D Dot Game Heroes. The bad ending of that game, like the game's kind of self-referential. It's like, hey, you got the bad ending, bad job. And I spent so much time on that game, and I'm like, what happened? I went to like game FAQs. And it's like, oh yeah, this game is so hardcore. You should have gone back and talked to that one fairy in this place that you've already been to. In this one little section of the game, you can't get the good ending now. You have to restart. And I was so mad. Other really, really bad ending for me, it was Super Paper Mario. And I mean, lots of games do this. For some reason, this one just really bothered me. Mario's in this stupid world he doesn't like with lots of like flat polygons and whatever. He needs to get out and back to his Mario world. And then the game ends, and it's just like, oh, you're still here. You can still play around and like find new things. And that's like one of my least favorite things in RPGs, is they end, and then you just continue on in this world where there's like nothing left to push you forward in here. and it's like the life is evaporated from this world that I once cared about. I once wanted to get out of there, and then now we're just here living in it. And it's suddenly sad.
It's like a limbo.
Yeah, it is. It's a limbo. Super Paper Mario World ends in a limbo. He's stuck in that weird little geometry world forever.
I really like it when it's clear, like, here's the ending. Okay, let me go get a beverage and put you know, you can kind of get prepped for it instead of just like having an ending, you know, snuck upon you or like not realize. Like, it's the worst feeling ever when the boss fight's over and you're like, oh, that was it.
That was the final boss.
Like, that was the last guy. Like, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So like it would have been nice in 3D, you know, Heroes if like that's okay if you have the bad ending, but just make it obvious what I have to do. Like, even if, you know, it sucks that like you throw something at me at the last minute, you know, it's like make it obvious that, you know, that has to happen. I remember playing Final Fantasy VI and it went into the end cinema and you were like flying over all the towns and it was like, oh, this town is fine. And I'm like, I want to go talk to them. You know, I want to see how, you know, what I did, you know? So like, it is kind of weird being in that stagnant limbo, but like, I do kind of like the idea of going around and just like getting rewarded for what you did for, you know, helping everybody, especially if you save the world. It's like, I want to go door by door and be like, I saved the world, thank you.
So is that something you guys are usually thinking about, or are you just playing the game in the moment?
I like open world games, and I always imagine I'm gonna keep playing an open world game after I get the story ending, but like I always don't care. I always like get that story ending, and I'm just like, oh, okay, it's over.
Yeah,
and it's weird that does that to my brain.
I try to get everything I can before I go to the ending, because yeah, it is really hard to like, oh, I'm gonna go pick up more, you know, blast shards in Infamous.
I think there is something to that. I think that, you know, the story is what drives this world and what makes us care about this environment. And then once that's off, then it is a playground. It's up to us to care about it, and it's harder.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever sought after an ending of a game I hated the gameplay of, where I'm just like, well, this isn't any fun at all, but I've got to see this ending. Like, I'll stop playing it. You know, it's gotta be, you know, fun to play at least a little bit.
Really quick, favorite endings, or favorite ending that comes to mind?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Final Fantasy VI had like a 15-minute ending.
It's
on
so
the Super
good.
Nintendo.
It goes through
15 minutes. It's like, put the controller down. On the Super Nintendo, put the controller down. You know, it's like the PlayStation era really started to.
No, it goes through every single character, what they're going through to escape the tower, and like every time they show a character, they're playing its main theme and like the
they
most
go through all the
version.
themes and they like transition between each other, just like on the Super Nintendo.
Looks like they were cut by some type of blade.
Metal Gear Solid 1 for me. This is a game that like takes place over the course of a few hours. You come in at night and then like the sun rises at the end. And just between all those things, everything is leading up to the ending in this game. It's all driven toward, you know, stop Metal Gear. It's in the title. It's the first thing you hear, Metal Gear. And so like this battle atop Metal Gear, you're like fist fighting Liquid, and then you're passed out, and he drops all this knowledge on like what you are, and he thinks he's the weak twin, and then like after the ending, and this is like even just the best stuff, is like all the stuff you learn after the ending. Oh, it's like actually Liquid did have the good genes, and he's dead now. You had Fox die in you. The whole reason you were there is just to infect other people. That's the whole reason they sent Solid Snake, not to do this whole mission, but just to infect everyone.
Well, you said Metal Gear, so I won't say Metal Gear, but Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah,
Oh,
and a lot of people hated that, and
so
I will
epic.
justify that ending.
That
Yeah.
was so good.
It's not just like, all right, here's the ending. You know, they really take their time with it. You know, you're working on the farm. You think, wow, this is gonna end
No.
peacefully.
No, I knew it. The second we went back to the farm, and it was like, oh, hey, Dad, help me out in the barn. And I was like, it's coming, man. It's coming. Any second, I knew it. I knew it. And then I talked to some people, and they're like, oh, so disappointed. I didn't see that coming. I was like, that was so deliberate. That was so great. Especially because, like you were saying, you're talking about, like, it gets called Metal Gear. Like, the whole time, he's like, I want to get home. And, like, they gave you that. You know, they gave you a little time to be like, now you're home. And now the game's over.
It's beautifully done. And then you get the epilogue afterwards, too, which was just a nice little
cherry
icing
on
on the
sundae,
cake. Yeah.
Bud, what's your favorite?
Well, since it is on my brain, I will go the first Infamous. You know, it's not my favorite, I'm sure, but it definitely, like, that made the whole game click for me in such a great way. Like, just that twist and finding out about the crazy, like, you know, time travel element to that and everything. And just
Forgot
like,
about that.
Man, it's like And then they, you know, kicked it off with that great song that really, really just brought everything together.
Just occurred to me we should have a really good ending to this segment.
But we don't.
It's a good.
Or we could end it like most video
Good
games
endings.
and it just abrupt.